Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 5th, 2026 at approximately 8 p.m. PST. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things, I do want to tip my hat to Storm, who is our primary moderator, and he stays in the background making sure tech works and keeping an eye out to make certain if we have a problem child, they are outside the room before they even have a chance to be a problem. That said, even if you do cause a problem, find yourself outside, absolutely the next day, come on back in. Behave yourself and you won't find yourself outside. But if you do it too often, you'll end up, quite frankly, banned. And that has nothing to do with me, aside from the fact that I asked my moderators to make it happen. Now, let's take a look here. We also have LA Moon in the office. She is the primary moderator inside the chat room. And she helps keep the conversation going when it stalls, or simply to keep an eye on problem children as well, which is what pretty much every one of the moderators watches for. Okay. And of course, we have a wonderful new arrival. Kira Ava is another moderator. And in all fairness, she happens to be my wife, my executive assistant, my my editor, and a member of my board of directors.
Hello,
everyone. The best.
Hi. Sorry.
That's not a problem. I have a tendency of talking. Told you I wanted the best of the best, and this just goes to show what that works like. Now, we go back up here to the top, and we have Vanessa Lawrence. You are in with the gold. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Let's see what we can do about turning your life a little bit more into a positive side. And then we scroll down a little, and we have Mike Jones. You are in with the silver. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And let's see. Oh, we have Donna C. I have not seen you in a while, Donna. Welcome back. You are in with the bronze, Donna. And there comes Operation Shutdown with the honorable mention. And he's saying hello, Kira, as well.
Hello.
The nice part about it is we are here to show you how to start to build your own empire. Now, let's understand one little detail. An empire does not have to be global. In my case, that's literally what I'm aiming for. And according to one listener that I was talking to a while back, I'm already reaching Australia, France, Indonesia. These are different places that people have shown up from. So this is where we're going. But the first step in any empire, and the most important empire anybody can have, in my opinion anyway, is the running of your household. So let's get down to the brass tacks of it and figure out how to make this happen. The one thing why do I have that running? That just annoys me. There. Now I can't hear myself talk, and I can't think while I'm straight anyway, so that works out. But the reality of it is, if you're looking at building an empire, there's one question you've got to ask before any other. Do you desire an empire? Do you desire to build a world around you that you are content with? Okay. The reality is, I'm not the one to tell you what your empire should look like. But when you look at your household, now remember how I mentioned you've got to stay following karmic law. This means be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. You follow those 3 laws, and you're going to land on your feet. Okay. Remember, there's a whole pile of other things you got to take into consideration, but that gives you a backbone. So the first thing that I went and did was okay, number 1, do I desire to be my own boss? Do I desire to control my life properly? And, I heard a definition for an entrepreneur once, and it was absolutely brilliant in my eyes. An entrepreneur, or the owner of an empire, is someone willing to work 16 hours a day for themselves so they don't have to work 8 hours a day for somebody else. Now, the neat little part about all this is I was doing the same thing you guys were doing, that you were likely doing. Okay, and this applies to the home front, to the business world, whatever. I was living based on what other people said was possible. Oh, we know how to market, so we're going to do, we'll charge you a little bit, and we'll get, we'll do the marketing for you and help you. I'm telling you, you want to run an empire. First rule of thumb: know everybody's job first. Okay, you can learn as you go along. Find a trusted core. Okay, I have, out of 8 billion people, I think there's 12 people that I can trust, that I know if they tell me this is what is a good idea or this is where a problem is, I can virtually guarantee they know what they're referring to. Some of them do not articulate things well. Fortunately, that's not a big problem. But when you look at it, I went, okay, first of all, I'm going to build a company. Okay, let me see here. Oh, I did not actually hit that, so get that out of the way. The reality is this. I'm not happy with this. The world is in a mess. So I decided I was going to, and you're going to love this one, I was going to build an active recovery center. Now, I've already got the corporate superstructure laid out for it. I got to go back through it and streamline it now. But if you take a look at the acronym ARC, I am building an arc. Okay, an arc where everybody is welcome. I've already built the nervous system, the word of mouth advertising engine. Okay, and again, when you're looking at things, and you've got to start off, and absolutely, if you've got an idea of a business, of an empire you'd like to build, maybe you've been like I was in the hospitality industry and you're going, I'd like to do what Colonel Sanders did. He took an idea and turned it into a multi-million-dollar industry. Okay, but he did it his way. Now, I will not. Oh, look at this. Philip Blair, how you doing? You are in with apparently the 12th day of Christmas, and I forget what it worked out to. I did it a while ago. Checked on the cost. Okay, I checked on the cost of the 12 days of Christmas, and it's something like close to $1 million for that. I'd love to have that kind of money. I will have that kind of money. But there's a catch to it. When I decided I was building an empire, I decided, okay, I require the proper people around me to help make this happen. Okay, net result, I've got some of the best moderators on the circuit, watching my back and making certain that I don't actually drop dead on you. And that, in all fairness, is courtesy of LA Moon. Okay, she's the one that keeps an eye on my health, and she'll look at me and go, Keith, you're running into a sugar crash, or you're crashing. Go get some salt or go get some sugar. And sad to say, LA, but my salt's up front. So how about if we don't have that problem today? What do you think? But get an idea in your head what your boundaries are. You know, the reality is there comes a point and you'll have people around you. Sometimes as you're changing, like what happened to me, people that you've had around you for a long time turn out to be, shall we say, a little less stable than you might have liked. Okay. And you have to let them go. And this is not just friendship. Sometimes this means family. Okay. But here's the kicker. When you surround yourself with people that you're gaining support from, understand one little detail. They are all here for one of two reasons. Either they come into your life, they come into your life to help you, or you come into their life to help them. Now, I'm beyond help. That's just the way that is. So I decided I've got literally lifetimes of understanding. I remember some of the greatest events in history, not because of the fact that I'm a history buff. I hate reading. Okay. So what ends up happening is I go to bed, I remember a chunk of a past life, and all of a sudden here we are. Well, I am reaching back into my past life knowledges, my past life experiences, and I am bound and determined to take that information and go, okay, guys, we've run around in circles long enough. Let's quit looking to the world, to the so-called leaders of the world, because I'll tell you, the leaders of the world are doing the same thing as the lead lemmings are. Okay, and you'll love this one. Every 4 years, when you take a look at lemmings, they all of a sudden go nuts and start running off cliffs. I don't know if you've noticed a similarity here, but every 4 years, at least in Canada and the US, we have elections. Every 4 years. And no, that's a bad thing. I will just leave that to your imagination. Philip is going, they're all symbolic, but I forget which symbolizes. It's literally about getting an aviary for Christmas. Yeah, there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that, Philip. And, the reality of it is this. When I take a look at my empire, okay, I'm laying it out quite nicely. When I've worked it out quite nicely. I went, okay, I've got Christmas cards already. I'm going to be without a whole lot of money to help other people at Christmas. I'm going to be putting out Christmas cards. Communication, I'm going to build. And this is where Kira comes in real handy. Okay. Storm, if I've got a technological problem, I'll turn to him. Okay. Kira's got an ability to edit, to word things. And I realize she's not saying much right now, but let's face it, that's just the way that works. Yeah. See, and here's the thing, Vanessa. It could be worth the jump. And I will tell you, it's a real rush jumping out into the middle of open space. And that free fall is incredible. But I'll tell you, the fall doesn't cause a problem. In all of recorded history, the fall itself has only killed a half a dozen people. Okay. Killed a lot of blind people. Well, more to the point, their companions. This is why blind people quit actually skydiving. Because it scares the living daylights out of the seeing eye dogs. But it's not the fall that causes the problem. It's a sudden stop when you hit the bottom. The nice little part about it. Yeah. Pigeons, swans, calling birds, you name it. Who's feeding all those people? Well, we could go that way, but, the reality is, I took a look at it and went, I've had this company, and I mean, the timing of it was perfect. I opened Inner Voice Enterprises in 2007. Okay, but because I was working full time, I didn't do a thing with it. Now, last year, on top of my getting married and starting a brand new branch of my life, okay, And our life is taking off in ways that I can't even begin to articulate just yet. It depends on which elves you're referring to. The odds are, if it's a combi, they're not feeding them. They may capture them and keep them in lockdown for a while, but the combi aren't exactly known for being friendly. Okay, the combi are a species of the elfin they're a race of the elfin species. Yeah.
This conversation is amusing.
Yeah. Fines from the HOA. Now I'm at a complete loss on that one.
HOA is Homeowners Association.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Uh-huh.
Over a farm on the lot, the screaming and noise. Absolutely. Mind you, we did have, up here in Canada, in Vancouver, we had a guy that put his farm to unique use. He's in jail now because of the term of the way he used it. And what do we got? Yeah. 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 Complaints from the Homeowners Association in LA goes, and that's just for me. But when you look at an empire, the number one, do you actually desire to take on all hats? Because the reality is, you've got to know everybody's job better than they do. Now, I don't have to be a phenomenal artist. I've got to, and no business owner has to know everything. What the key is, and especially if you're going to build an empire. Okay, right now I'm in Canada, but I am now actively reaching out, and I will hit the four corners. Well, no, I'm not going to hit the four corners of the world. I don't know about you guys. I love the term. Flat earthers will tell you there's four corners. I'll tell you they're not. Okay, and that's a debate I'm not getting into right now. But I will tell you, physiologically, this is a neat little segue sideways. But let me get this screen on right so I can actually see. If you take a look at this little item, that is the shape of the Earth. Okay, the reason that it always shows up as a circle is because you're looking at that. Okay, that's why. That's why it's a circle when you're looking at it and when you look at where it's drawing. But you'll notice no matter how you look at it, there's no corners. By the way, this is what I'm showing you.
Gotcha. Cool.
One thing about blind people, they don't see so well. I'm still trying to figure out how the rest of the world actually manages to think, but that's another issue. Now, when we take a look at this, when you look at... Oh, I have no idea. And I go, where's the time? Uh-oh, who's singing? Oh. Oh, that's Philip.
Yeah.
I see.
Yes.
The nice part about it, when we take a look at this, you desire to build an empire. First rule of thumb: do you actually really desire to handle all of it? Because I'm telling you, you're going to have to start with. Then you find people that you can trust. That when they go to do something, they're going to do it right. Okay. Where it comes to Storm, I know if I cut him loose in the back of my computer, he's going to straighten out the mess and not blow it up. Okay. Me, I cut loose on the front of it, I might blow it up. Kira handles all of my editing. There is no reason why I would turn to somebody else. And here's the thing. I've got her doing that in time. And yes, I have talked to her about this. In time, I will be publishing other people's work. But what I won't be doing is telling you, oh, it's not good enough.
Sorry, I just saw something that Storm said. Storm, that was a great comment. He says, He said, God promised that there would be. I don't know if I can read this without laughing. I think
Probably
you're gonna have
not.
me do it.
Yeah, Storm goes,
Yeah.
God promised there would be beautiful, intelligent, and submissive women across the four corners of the world.
And then he made it round.
Then he made it round.
Okay, that was great.
And this is why I've got him for a moderator and why we try and keep him in the back. Yeah. But here's the thing. Okay, I will tell you this, and this just kind of goes hand in hand with that. I have always held that behind every successful man, there's a really pushy woman. Yeah, Storm just goes, good luck with that.
Yeah, I can be pushy, see?
The fact of the matter is, as we're growing up, most kids are encouraged to use their imagination until they hit 5 or 6 years old. Okay. And then they're told, okay, that's a nice imagination, Junior. Now grow up. If it weren't for the imagination, we wouldn't have the world we've got right now. Of course, it would be nice if we didn't have the world being controlled by idiots, but that's just my personal opinion. Of course, let's face it, there's 12 out of 8 billion people that I trust. Okay, do not take that offensively. Let's face it, you're in good company. There's 8 billion others of you. But the reality is this. Get an idea in your head. Okay, anything that does not push towards that and does not break karmic law, start making the changes. And I've done this before, and I'm not going to do what I did earlier. But you've got you've got a letter opener, and that's all that is. You've got a letter opener in your hand. You don't like it in your right hand, put it in the left one. It's easy. If you're not content with it being in the left hand, change it again. The fact is, get an idea. I'm going to build an empire that I can help literally thousands of people across the world. Now, we've been at this for, I think, 3 years now, and we finally broke the 700 viewers. I have no idea of 700 subscribers. I have no idea how people get up over, 10,000 in a matter of months. Aside from, we're going to sit down, we're going to distract you by playing video games. This is not what I call useful. Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against video games. Okay, I have a problem with sitting there banging my head against the wall and getting nowhere. What have we got? Yeah, LA goes, I agree she's behind him and asking him if he took out the trash. 706? Oh, okay, I haven't hit refresh yet. Mine still says 705, but thank you, LA. The nice part is, I'm looking at this. I'm building an empire. Together, we are going to make this world, we're going to give people the opportunity to co-create a beneficial world for virtually everybody. Hate to tell you this, guys, if you're a bully, if you're self-centered, a narcissist, be a narcissist, but don't treat people like garbage. You can believe you're the best of the best. Okay? I am aiming at that, but Lord knows, I'm pretty close to the bottom of the bin. Okay, but then I've been digging for a while. And when you look at building an empire, whether you use an electronic device to do it, or paper and pencil and paper, which is what I use. Like I said, I'm a dinosaur. Okay, either way, get it written down so you can see functional, quantifiable progress. Okay, I look at the numbers of subscribers we've got, not because I figure, I've got to, that matters, that makes a whole lot of difference to what I'm doing. What I'm doing is building something, this is self-centered. I'm building something where I don't have to rely on governments or other bosses. I already made that mistake. Right now, I'm living on disability and CPP. Not a good income. Oh, Philip goes, I think they employ clickbait. Cute animals work too. Well, if you take a look at the classification of that, of all the things on this planet, you have vegetable, that applies to most humans I've run into, mineral, that applies to some of them, and animal, and that applies to my wife.
Excuse me. Well.
Well, you're either a vegetable, a mineral, or an animal.
Oh, okay, that
Your
works.
call.
At least I'm not a vegetable. I'm happy about this.
Yeah, Vanessa goes, I call it overconfident, which can still get you in trouble. Which it can. And when I was growing up, we had such neat little things like our safety net for ziplining was a knot at the end of a thick rope hanging over a 300-foot cliff. That was the safety harness. The safety net was the branches in the trees that you hoped would break your fall before you hit the rocks at the bottom of it. Okay, nowadays everything is super safe, and let's not offend anybody. Okay. Oh, Blue, I did not see you quite come in.
He just barely
perfect.
said in the chat, so you're fine.
Okay. Yeah. The easiest now, because of that, thanks for bringing me back on track. That really is kind of important. This is why I watch the chat room. Where it comes to your finances, one of the first things you have to do is start tracking what you're spending. This idea that you've got to have a budget doesn't work. Okay, the only time a budget actually works is if you have a definitive amount of money coming in every month. Okay, but if you track your finances, you can literally make things happen. Yeah, Philip, we didn't use helmets. I mean, helmets, what was that for? To keep your head in one place? I remember wearing a helmet one day riding a motorcycle, and a bee hit me and nearly broke my neck. And that's another story all of its own. But when you look at your finances, okay, now bear in mind, I've already said where my income comes in right now. Now, tens of thousands of dollars I spend on advertising companies. I cut them all loose. I'm doing it my way. And last year, for the first time ever, I made over $1,000 over the course of the year. This is pocket change, and I can't do much with it. I can't even survive on that. But it's $1,000 more than any of the marketing companies ever gave me. Okay. That's just the reality behind it. So when you're looking at your money, a couple of things you got to keep in mind. You require, or I encourage you to have 4 things, an active checking account, a regular bank account to work with. Get a true savings account that costs you nothing if you leave the money sit in it. Okay, if it's costing you a fee to leave the money sit there, it's not a savings account. It's literally a lure so the bank can make money off you. As a matter of fact, they'll take all of your money if you've got a savings account that costs you to leave the money sit. So get a true savings account. Okay, then you get a one credit card, line of credit, whatever it is, either one. Get one only. Now, I'm talking about what you require. I've just been approved for my 3rd credit card because I managed unlimited income to work out things and get myself in the black. This is the thing you got to remember. People are not actually, gauged, if you will. People are not judged by the height to which they climb. They are actually judged or compared by the depth from which they have climbed. Okay. Where are we here? Philip goes, I think that means bees are your spirit animal, Keith. it is possible. Oh.
Looks like Boo's here.
Oh. Yeah, Blue Cruise is here.
Yeah, but Woo is also here.
Oh, yeah, Woo came in a little bit ago.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him.
Yeah. It's possible it is. I do know 3 of mine. I've been looking for the 4th. And, it being a bee would not be a shock. Okay, because rest assured I'm a pain in the neck. But my actual spirit animals, the 3 that I know of, are the Black Panther, the Raven. Yeah, the Black Panther, the Raven, and the Wolf. Okay, but that being said, I knew there was a 4th, I just haven't entirely tracked it down yet. But when you look at building an empire, make certain you know what you're going after. Because some people go, oh, I'd really like to work for myself. And they get into it and all of a sudden they go, bad idea. Okay, and rest assured, people telling you you're good at it doesn't necessarily make it so. My parents told me I would make a phenomenal accountant. I just looked at accounting and went, yes, I can juggle numbers, but I get bored silly with it. So I compromised. I became a numerologist and then modified the whole system because the one they had flaws. And yes, through positive perspectives, okay, I will be covering the flaws. I'll probably end up covering them on here one day. Okay, do understand, numerology itself works. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to figure out what kind of energy you're working with. Okay, but you've got to understand how it works first. And this is just a few of the things I'm tying together. But when I told you a while ago, everything is connected. Okay, if it were not for the listeners, for the subscribers in this chat room going, no, Keith, please don't shut the system down. Okay, I just shut it down 2 years ago. Okay, but I kept being asked by people not to do that. Yeah, Blue goes, I'm not rich, but I'm doing well. And that's fantastic. I look at rich not as far as money goes. Okay, money itself is not the thing that makes anybody rich. I've seen way too many people that have a lot of money and no heart. Okay, myself, I look at it going that, the Egyptians tried it. They tried to take their stuff with them. It didn't work out so well. We know this because there's a lot of dead bodies out there buried in pyramids that left a whole pile of stuff behind, including skeletons of their slaves. I can't say I haven't thought about burying people. Okay, well, I could say that, but I'd be lying. One of the biggest things that I did find out is, let me ask you this. Do you feel you have an imagination? Can you picture yourself being in a position of financial fluidity? Can you picture yourself actually creating something that other people are drawn to? Okay, I keep aiming at this idea. I'm building, and what I'm doing is I'm taking my house and I'm getting the best of the best in it. And I'll keep you posted as that goes on. But the concept of building an empire is simple. Okay, take the world you've got, decide whether or not you desire more. And yeah, some of you are going to look at it and go, I desire to be able to afford to drive a Lamborghini. Maybe a Cutlass, maybe a Cutlass is your idea. Or you can be like one guy I knew. Okay. And I mean, talk about an insult to the car, I thought. He owned a Porsche. And on the Porsche, he had a bumper sticker, okay, that said, my Lotus is in the shop. The funny part about it was his Lotus was in the shop. Okay, but those ones he owned outright. LA goes, I like my credit union and my credit union. Banks, not so much. And credit unions.
Sorry, that's me too. LA. I prefer credit unions myself because a lot of the time, see, I came from Utah, which is interesting. You mentioned the Beehive State, Philip. So, the bank that I was first introduced to back 20 some odd years ago was actually a credit union, and I've been kind of spoiled since then. So, yeah, I personally like credit unions, but you can still, whether it's a bank or a credit union, it still holds. Get a bank account that you can work with. So,
the neat part about it is when you take a look at it, you draw people around you to help you. And on occasion, unfortunately, people either have to be cut loose or they don't get the bigger picture and they walk away. The best thing I can tell any one of you, if you suffered a loss of somebody you thought you could count on or you thought you was going to be around, the best thing, in my opinion, you can possibly do, become successful. In spite of everything you've gone through. Let's face it, you're talking to somebody that not 6 weeks after I got married, I died. It's a little extreme. Don't do that. Extremely inconvenient, but it works. And I'm going to get hit later. The nice part about it, when you take a look at the whole idea of an empire, if you've got an idea and you don't know where to start, absolutely drop me a line. Go to the link at the top of the stream that says buy me a coffee. It's actually on the screen right now. But you go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ. It'll show you how to get a hold of me, how to get a hold of every one of the books I have written. Okay. Hopefully in the near future. Well, sometime this year I'll get it worked out where I will start collecting poetry and like a single poem or a few poems and start putting anthologies together of other people's works. And the details will come up on that. I will tell you, when I do that, I have run into so many people that have gone and turned over something to a professional company. Oh, there we go. Philip goes, honeymoon to heaven and back. Yeah, I've been both places. They're nice places to visit, but apparently I'm not allowed to stay. They don't want me there. But no, what I've done is I've seen people that come up with a business idea. I desire to make this happen. Now, I don't do this often, but there was a movie I watched just about a week or so back. Right now, it's on Netflix. Or it's on either Netflix or Disney. But the movie is called Joy. It's about a woman that got an idea in her head and said, everybody can sit on their tax because I'm making this happen. If you got this neat little dream about having an empire, this is a really encouraging show. Okay. And from my standpoint, I'm simply going to the top. But I was told something really important. Years ago, when I started talking about this, I was told it's lonely at the top. So guess what my solution to going into the loneliness was? Because nobody likes to be lonely. But I got thinking of this. Okay, and I went, well, if it's lonely at the top, how do you solve that problem? Especially if her name is not Maria. But you turn around and you take everybody with you. Then you won't be lonely. And this is, from my standpoint, this is what I'm aiming at doing. Okay, now there's some real neat hiccups here. Some of the people I intend to take with me, because of the situation they're in, governments have said, oh, you can't make any more money because we want to keep you poor. Okay, so I've got to make certain when I make the transition and make that happen, I've got to make absolutely certain that it's going to be a stable flow. And yes, I've already got plans in the work on how to make that happen. Okay. And, my most common comment when somebody comes to me and goes, "Oh, Keith, you can't do that. That's not possible." My usual comment is simple. How about if we don't discuss what I can't do? Oh, Philip, watch Sound of Music. You'll find out who Maria is. And no, I'm not going to sing the song. Sorry, you're out of luck. I'm not going to break your eardrums. I wouldn't be adverse to Kira singing it. In all fairness, she's got a heck of a voice. It's just a heck of a sight even better than you would imagine when you compare it to mine. But that's who Maria is. She is from The Sound of Music. Again, it's another one of those wonderful little movies. Yeah. Stable is good to relieve stress. Yes, it is. Unless the horse in the stable is a pain in the neck. And that just aggravates things. But what I have come to understand is when that income is high enough, I worked it out where 80% of my net profit will end up going back to the community. Now, I've got to double check that. It may only be 75, but I think I've got the 80. I think it was 80 I worked it out at. I'm just not looking at the sheet right now. And since I worked out the formula 20 years ago, just about 20 years ago, I worked it out quite literally the first year I was open. And, I had people looking at it going, that doesn't, like, how can you do that? Okay, well, the way I can do it is real simple. So with this healing center I am building, the communication network, the nerve system, is the internet. Now, I will not go to the internet. I will not go to another company and go, absolutely, do my work for me and advertise for me. I am having a contract built, so if somebody wants to do that, there's no problem. But it'll be done my way. Okay, my way is simple. Okay, and that is, if somebody decides they want to sell my product or sell, work as liaison, no problem. Okay, I have it worked out where you got the right to do that, but you don't get a plug nickel if you don't actually make any sales. It's that simple for me. Now, I already had one person tell me, one company, they went, that's not the way we do business. I looked at them and I said, well, that's okay, because it is the way I do business, and therefore we're not doing business together. It's not my problem. When you get an idea for an empire, you desire to live within, to co-create. And it will be co-created. Because I hate to tell you this, but you're not the only person on the planet. Now, some of you have had close friendships, close relationships, that your dreams outshone or outreached what they were capable and or willing to embrace. This is why many of them go, I can't deal with it, so I'm going to back up. Now, I will tell you, it hurts like the dickens. Okay, I told my own wife, right at the beginning of our marriage ceremony, okay, right before we started, I sat down, I looked at her, I said, look, you desire to walk away. Now's the time to do it. I'll be heartbroken, but you can go, no problem. You sign the paperwork, you say I do at the appropriate time, and it's a lot harder to close it down. There we go. Philip goes, I saw a video short yesterday of someone on a cattle ranch going around asking people, what's the least cowboy thing about you? And, I really couldn't tell you. Other than the fact, probably the fact that I'm edgy around cattle. That may be a problem. But the biggest thing in the world and the biggest obstacle you'll ever face in any empire is your own self-doubt.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, just Philip, that's great.
Yeah. One of the ranch hands enthusiastically said, laughing, "I know the lyrics to every song in The Sound of Music." Yeah, that is not a ranch hand's call to fame.
No, it's not.
It's funny. I know my dad had a problem with a cow one day. I mean, we got really sidetracked. My dad was a little man. He was only 5'7" with a 52-inch chest, 18-inch forearms, and was a Golden Gloves boxer. And he had a bull getting mad at him because he grew up on a farm. He cold cocked the bull. If you ever watch Blazing Saddles, you'll see Mongo do the same thing. Again, in all seriousness, if you're going to build an empire, you've got to use your brains. You cannot run on a wing and a prayer. Well, you can. It's not going to work well. Okay, you've got to use your brain, but you've got to use an equal amount of heart. And an equal amount of that other thing called my give a dang's busted. Okay, everything's got to be in balance. It's always balanced in 3. Okay, and one of the things that you got to remember, one of the things you have to remember about building an empire, make it happen in bits, one step at a time, so you can see quantifiable evidence that you're growing. Okay, now we're at apparently 706 subscribers. This is quantifiable growth. Where it comes to your finances, find out where you're standing, and every month make sure that your savings account is a minimum of 1 penny, of a 1 penny balance greater than the last one. Okay, where it comes to your credit cards, ensure that every month your credit card is down a minimum of 1 penny. It's not much, but I will tell you, a steady drop of a penny at a time or a steady growth. My dad put it really well when he turned around and said, "Keith, take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. When you get a big project, cut it down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. Okay, that way you can get them finished." And I'll tell you, in Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, one of the booklets I wrote, okay, in that booklet, I tell you, you break it down and you actually have quantifiable, trackable evidence you're making headway. Okay, now, honestly, I'm not that special. Okay, I know there are people that think I am. And of course, there's people that think I'm special as well. And the reality of it is, when I was a kid, I was diagnosed mentally retarded. Then I graduated on the honor roll with a course in theoretical genetics under my belt. Exactly, Philip. LA, thank you very much. And Kara just brought it to my attention as well. She's reading the chat room. We are down to the 10-minute mark. Now, this is where we start winding things down. I get out of here. I've got another dozen things I got to get done before I pack it in for the night. But, and let me just call this up. That. Where are we here? Okay, tomorrow we are looking at Believe in Your Finances. Okay, and what I'm doing there, tomorrow we're going to go through the booklet that I wrote. Okay, and yeah, some of you are going to look at it going, "Oh, you're just trying to advertise." No, I could care less. That's actually ironically, that's the biggest problem, is I'm putting information out there for you. If you put it to use, it's not going to do me a whole lot of good, other than my being able to say, maybe down the road, you go, "Hey, this worked, and I'm standing on my feet." That's the payoff. Because I'll tell you, when I'm selling them, the hard copy goes at $20 a pop. The PDF goes at 10. Both of them and a lot of other ones are available at the Buy Me a Coffee link. But tomorrow we will be back. Okay, And then, of course, we'll be back on Friday. I think I've got Friday worked out. No, maybe not. Where am I here? Not that one. That one. Oh, yes. On Friday, because I'm going into my 2-day weekend. Because for me, and again, when you're building an empire, pick 2 days off back to back that you don't work. You've got to put your feet up, okay, and do something totally disconnected, or you're going to run into, in all likelihood, snags. Okay, some of you are workaholics. Okay, not me. I only work 12, 14 hours a day. I'm not a workaholic. The important factor here is you've got the ability to become as successful as you desire to be. But with that in mind, I do desire to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We will be back again tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.